So the first part of building your presence is building your personal brand. So what is it that makes you stand out? It's time to think about how you come across to the world at large, because very often, it's like living in a house with a bare light bulb. You don't notice it anymore. And I really want you to turn the spotlight back onto yourself and look with fresh eyes at what is the image you are portraying to the world, and more specifically, your prospects. All of the marketing efforts that we have done so far are designed to make you stand out and become that go-to person in your field. Your story, your message, they're part of that, of course, and as is everything that you've done up to this point. So the days where you could hide behind your computer in terms of no one seeing you ever are gone. The world is changing. There are more and more therapists being qualified every day. So that means the market's growing and getting more competitive. But you know what? We don't want you to get all kind of scarcity about that. There's plenty of business for everybody. But what that means, and we don't want you to do this, is that therapists are lured into trying the next big thing, marketing tactic like Instagram or whatever it is, without having those foundations in place that we've been working on. And in order to make them stand out, or worse, what they do is they discount their prices because they feel like they are in a huge pool of competitors and have to discount. We really don't want you to have to do that. It's completely unnecessary. Please do not do that. Now, the thing that makes you stand out is much closer to home. It is you. There's only one you. And you need to take a deep breath and make a decision to get visible. The good thing is it's never been easier to carve out your identity and how you want the world to see you through video and other kinds of social media. As we've just done, people buy people. People are interested in other people. In fact, we're insatiable in our desire to understand other people. They want to feel personal connection with you. And that is really true for therapists, even more than other business. And good, really luckily, it's never been easier. So if you want to create true distinction in your therapy business, you will just find it in the mirror, which is great. And, we talked about people promising you magic bullets. Well, the magic bullet really is you. It is staring back at you from that mirror. And the question is, how do you take advantage of it? And what can you do to build that business where you stand out using your personality? So we're going to position you through your personal brand. Okay, so let's get going with this. So who are you? And that's not really a metaphysical question, but it's an important question. Do your potential clients get a sense of who you are right from the word go? Do they know what your values are, what you stand for, what you're like? Do you know what your values are and what you stand for and against, and the image that you want to portray in your business? The question is, do you spend your time hiding behind your desk or computer or website, or are you out there? Now, that doesn't necessarily mean physically out there, although that's really great to do that. Out there being visible online as well, if that's the way you want to do it. Are you representing yourself in the way that you want? And, we've already said that people buy from people, and we want to connect with another human being. We want to connect with somebody like us, someone that understands us. And this could not be more the case than in the therapy business. So you'll notice that I've said this quite a few times now. So I really hope that you are, that this is really sinking in and you're really thinking about all the things that we cover, because you must remember that we are building, 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 building. And everything that you've done up to now still counts. Okay. You need to be yourself. As Oscar Wilde said, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. I love that quote. I love it. The point being is that, there are plenty of people out there pretending to be the person who mentored them or who they admire or whatever. And you know what? It never works. You need to be yourself. You need to be your quirky you, your real you, your authentic you, if you want to make an impact and stand out. Okay. So who is it that you want the world to see? So in the foundation stage of the therapist client attraction system, we focused on your vision for your therapy business. What we're talking about here is putting you, your personality, and the brand that is you into your communication to create uniqueness. Let's just think about, all the great brands at the moment that are instantly recognizable. If we ask you to name some huge brands, you might say Apple, Virgin, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Microsoft, Nike, etc., etc. If we then asked you to describe what are the characteristics of that brand, you'd probably come up with a list quite easily. For example, Apple, we might say, is innovative, young, leading edge technology, desirable. Those are the things that they want us to think of them. Coca-Cola, iconic, well-known. We might say it's associated with Christmas, world leader in soft drinks. What we think of Coca-Cola is another matter, but never mind. Nike, just do it, fashionable, associated with celebrity, etc. And of course, all these brands associate with themselves with people that we then want to be like. Okay. Now, the question is whether you're describing the brand in the way that the business wants you to think about. And in the case of those big brands, I think we're probably quite accurate. But in smaller brands like ourselves, we need to think very, very carefully about what assumptions people will be making about us according to the image we put out. So when anyone meets you, sees a video of you, visits your social media page or your social media profile or the website, are they getting the impression that you want them to get? How do you want to be perceived by your clients and potential clients? And what is the brand image or personality that you want to portray? We're going to do an exercise around that at the end of this video. And so if you're thinking of skipping this bit, please think again. I'll get very stern about not skipping things. And the reason is this, however non-judgmental we all are or, pretend to be, controversial, we are hardwired to make judgments. So it's no good saying that people are non-judgmental because, you have to work really hard at not being non-judgmental. You've got about 3 seconds to make the impression you want to make. 3 seconds. So it makes sense to spend some time to decide what impression you want to make rather than it being an accident. So 3 to 7 seconds to gain credibility in the eyes of the potential client. Do it on purpose and on mission. How you look needs to support your message. And if it doesn't, you lose credibility in an instant. So I want to just put this to you. If you were choosing a therapist, what would you look for? Just think about that for a second. At Therapy Marketing School, we frequently get asked whether it's important to fully represent the result that you are promising for your clients. Okay. In other words, is it okay to be overweight, even a little bit overweight, if you specialize in weight loss, for example, or still have a bit of anxiety if you deal with anxiety, and so on? Now, lots of therapists think that it's okay, or it certainly looks as though they think it's okay. And it does slightly depend. I'm just going to go through that in a minute, but I'm just going to ask you this. Would you go to a dentist who has bad teeth? Or would you go to a hairdresser who has a bad hairdo? You probably wouldn't. As a general rule, be the change that you want your clients to be. Now, I said, there are, like anything, there are always exceptions, and it's dependent on your messaging. We have therapists of all shapes and sizes specializing in weight loss, and it rather depends who you're targeting. So, for example, if you've lost 4 stone, which is 56 pounds, and still have a way to go, but you're showing your journey and your ideal client is very, very overweight, then they probably will prefer to work with someone who clearly understands them, who has been on a very big part of that journey, and can help them without being in that kind of slightly intimidating way, looking perfect. So just to summarize that then, physical, appearance and how you are seen is important, okay? However much we'd like to pretend it isn't, it is. And you don't need to look like a film star, but you do need to look clean and tidy and put your best foot forward. I know that sounds really obvious, and I hope it doesn't sound patronizing, but honestly, Paula and I have been to lots and lots of events where we've seen, we've been in rooms with a lot of therapists, a lot of coaches, a lot of business people over the years. And, we are never, it never fails to astound us how some people so clearly do not represent their brand and literally look like they've physically given up on themselves, looking like they're dressing from Oxfam when they're a wealth coach. That doesn't wash. You are not going to attract clients if you don't look like your own result. So now it is your turn. This exercise is fabulous. I love this. Your job is to describe the image that you want to be seen as in 3 words. It's quite difficult to get it down to 3 words, but it's a great idea to get it down to 3 words, so that once you have them, you can brief people. You can brief any designers doing logos and things like that for you with those 3 words. So you can dress accordingly, and you can make sure that all your branding looks like, and encompasses those 3 words. It's really cool exercise to do it. So do you want to be seen as knowledgeable? Do you want to be seen as a specialist? I hope so. Do you want to be seen as approachable? Do you want to be seen as professional? What are those words that you want to be seen as? Go and have fun with that exercise. Write loads and loads and loads down, and then whittle it down to just 3. And I will see you in the next video.